We're 2 days in a fight week as we're inching closer to the biggest fight of the year, Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders. Canelo's trainer and manager, Eddie Reynoso, has never been shy to state what he believes will happen prior to Canelo's fights. Here's what Reynoso told Fight Hub on Saunders. If he comes forward, he has less chance to win. He has to fight the way he always fights, throw punches to win rounds. But we're going to do everything to avoid that. Saunders fights really well for the first 6 rounds, but after that, his conditioning goes down. That's when Saul starts to come on. We're going to see that in this fight and more if he starts the pressure from the beginning. Now, Barack, I couldn't agree with Eddie Reynoso more. I think Billy Joe Saunders fights really well when he moves, sticks and moves, sticks and moves. Now, the thing about Canelo Alvarez and what he's developed lately is just a perfect way to cut the ring off. He did it up against Callum Smith perfectly. He knows how to move forward in a defensive manner, meaning, yes, Billy Joe can let his hands go, but Canelo's waist movement has been so effective lately moving forward. So if you're moving and throwing punches, right, and you got a guy that's slipping all your punches and countering with body shots, it's going to be real difficult for that type of fighter to be sticking and moving with what Canelo is right now, who he is today. Now, I'm not saying Billy Joe Saunders won't have success. He's a skilled, experienced fighter. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Canelo's not going to walk through him in the first 4 or 5 rounds, but that assessment that Eddie gave Fight Hub, I like it, and I see it playing out that way to some degree.
Well, first thing I would say is that Eddie Reynoso shows a lot of confidence because he basically gave the strategy up. You know, he gave up the game plan, like, okay, we're going to take him to deep waters. You know, he's saying exactly what he sees. A lot of people sees that maybe Billy Joe kind of tires out. He fades, just like Reynoso says, you know, towards the latter part of the fight. But when you're fighting the best fighter in the world, when you're fighting the biggest fight of your life, you know you're going to train hard. You know he's probably been on weight for a long time now, way better than any fight he ever had. So I would say that Canelo was patient against Kovalev, and he was able to get the knockout in the 11th round. And if that's what they're banking on, I don't know. You compared him to Callum Smith. You said, you know, Canelo moves in very well against Callum Smith. But one thing about Callum Smith is that he was a little tentative because Canelo was just doing so well with counterpunching, and he was hitting so hard, he made him a little tentative in punching. But Billy Joe is going to be different because his feet are fast and his hands are faster. So he'll be able to stick, land, and move probably, especially in the first few rounds, without getting hit. Now, the thing is that I think Reynoso was probably watching the last couple of fights of Billy Joe. Now, when you watch him against Caceres, yes, Billy Joe got the knockout in the 11th round, but it was too competitive. It shouldn't have been that competitive. Billy Joe didn't look good. Even after that fight in LA, he said, you know, he knew he was auditioning for Canelo, and he said, you know, this kind of fight doesn't really get him a shot with Canelo, you know, but he still got the stoppage. Also with Martin Murray, just think of it this way. Every fight at 168, he hasn't looked spectacular. The last 2 fights at 168, he hasn't looked spectacular. The Billy Joe that we know is that prime Billy Joe was like against Lemieux at 160 pounds. So we got to see if we can see that Billy Joe at 168 pounds. That Billy Joe gives Canelo problems.
With that being said, you know, even though he hasn't looked great, I still wasn't comparing him to Callum Smith in terms of caliber of fight. I do feel Billy Joe is definitely more skilled, more elusive, and a better all-around fighter. No disrespect to Callum Smith. But yeah, to your point, he has to be the best version of himself at this weight class to be successful against Canelo Alvarez. Will we get that? Most likely, because like you said, Barack, this is the fight of his life. He's looking in shape. He's looking lean. I doubt that he'll have trouble making weight on Friday. And I think we're going to have a hell of a fight. But, you know, it's hard to go against the pound-for-pound top dog. I can't wait to Saturday night.
Thanks for watching this video. Please do subscribe All Media New York.